welcome back to Bleach, Please. My name is Alicia. So if you haven't watched previous episodes, I encourage you to go back. And this is my co-host, Mandi Newman, and we're so excited to chat today. Today is a big topic, and I'm excited to kind of bring that to you guys. Mandi, are you excited to chat today?
I am excited. I think that we're going to just be fortune tellers and talk about the future.
Let's do it. Like, if we can predict the future right now, this is going to be really great. And I know we have a pretty good indication of what's going to happen. So that's kind of what this is all about today, is what is the landscape? Where's this industry heading?
Yeah.
So let's give you the scoop of really what's going on.
Yeah, so I think we'll kick things off by talking about how we've all had a bit of a rough year. There's been some good and some bad coming out of a pandemic. And Alicia is going to give us some insight into what the landscape is going to look like in terms of independent versus commission-based salons. Where do you think the industry is transitioning to?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all felt a little unsteady. And I think, like, the pandemic has really accelerated this movement, this process, and the independent market has just grown. So, when we look at the North American market, more importantly, when we look at just that sector, about 75% of the market is independent, and that is growing. It's climbing tremendously. So what we're seeing is more and more people are going to become suite owners or become more independent and moving away from that commission model. And it's kind of like a crazy transition right now, but what we're starting to see is through that we're birthing new strategies and we're changing new ways. And as much as that 75% climbs year over year, what we're starting to see is that we really need to look at the financials, and that commission-based salons really were never really set up to win. They really had a hard time because the margins were really thin, and it required a tremendous amount of effort to make sure that you were focusing on a lot of things coming in and out of the business. So where we're starting to see, and I'm gonna just say right now, the prediction that I have right now is, number one, I don't think we're slowing down the independent market anytime soon. And I think there's something powerful in numbers. And I think the more people that work for themselves talk to other people that work for themselves and build those communities, the power is in those numbers. And that you guys actually own the market. And I hope you realize that. And commission-based salons will still exist because, what we see is there's a lot of people that don't want the pressure of taxes or covering this or that. And there's a lot of phenomenal salon owners out there that will take that on. But as this pendulum's swinging over to that independent market, we're starting to see a blend happen. So my prediction is two things. Number one, hourly salons are going to be the thing of the future, right? People are going to go hourly. There's not going to be service menus. It'll be like, book a stylist for this amount of time. It's this price per hour. Parts plus labor equals price. This is going to be the future.
And for an hourly salon, is there going to be a consultation component, do you think? So that the client doesn't have the power. They don't know how many hours to book until they've come to that person maybe more than once. So then there'll be a consultation component, which we see in so many other industries, so that would completely make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's like bringing in pricing your consultation. Like, there's a fee to consult to have my time later, right? You can use that consultation fee to put towards the service. Think about, like, if you think of, if you think of getting, like, maybe you went to a surgeon, maybe you had someone, or like, right, they're going to charge you to see the doctor. And then if you end up getting the surgery, you can use that towards the quote that was there. But there has to be more emphasis on consultation. So consultation hourly, those are the two things that are going to be really increased. The digital transformation of our industry is right on the rise right now. So I'm only going to kind of give you guys a little sneak peek, but I think Salon Skill will help you when it comes to consultations in the future. So just stay tuned, because we definitely can help you with that, because we want to take the emotional charging away. We want to take away that pressure. We want to make sure that we're having proper consultations to set us up for success. But the third most important, and what I believe, my predictions of the business landscape, where is this whole movement heading, where it's going to go? Blended, it's a co-op. So what we're going to see is a lot of independent stylists that love that independency. Like, they love being able to come and go. They love having their own suites. But what we're going to see is if we can couple all of us and share overhead, like share our space, share our color bars, they can use Salon Scale to share a color bar and charge that out. But what we're going to start to see is these blended businesses. So it's a new take on commission. And why we need that is because we all have to think about students. We all have to think about hairdressers entering our industry. And if we all go independent, if we have too much independency, then these new talents they need to be trained under these systems, and they needed to be trained under, journeyman stylists or trade stylists. So we need a place for them to go. And so that's where I see a lot of these co-ops happening, where you get 2 or 3 stylists that are in a suite, they come together, they make a salon, they share the overhead expenses instead of saying like, hey, why are we all have an inventory? Why don't we share the inventory? Why don't we share the overhead costs? And then why don't we all hire new talents as our assistants? And then those new talents eventually would become us. They would then rent a chair when it comes available. So we're starting to see the model shifting to like this co-op and this blend, and I believe that is the future. And when you look at other industries, like the 5-day work week is going away. People are working more like 4 days, right? 4-day weeks. You're also seeing people work more from remotely, not as much in. So if every other industry is changing, ours is just coming too.
Yeah.
And I believe that this movement is going to be the strongest one because we'll have the most educated. And I believe, I said this in past episodes, which I say go back to it for sure, but we're planting the seeds in the next generation for success. 8 out of 10 salons cannot continue to fail. And the only way to fail is to really look into the financial models. And the new financial models that are coming out from this, the independent movement to these blends, are set up for much greater success than the commission-based salons.
And how can commission-based salon pivot to make sure that they're keeping up with this big shift to independent? Because there, like you said, there are going to be people who are still going to want to work in a salon and not have to worry about all of the taxation and not have to worry about anything but coming to work and doing their creative process. And how can those people, like salon owners and commission-based salons, pivot to be a part of this new landscape?
I think if you're a commission-based salon owner, I would look into investment right now. I would look into how do I look at my company as a corporation, and how do I take my top aligned talent? How do I take that senior talent and say, hey, look at here's 100% of this business. What we want to do is we want to have you bought into that. So maybe I'm going to take 20% of that business and create a pool, create a a model where I can keep some of these strong commission-based stylists to contribute back to that business. And in lieu, in return, if you have 10% of this business and you keep bringing in X amount of revenue, and you're going to help me grow this business, you're also going to get some dividend shares. You're going to help grow this business with me, because I like the old days of like, let's grow a business and pass it on to our family. That doesn't happen anymore. Like you can't do that. People don't stay long enough in a salon to have that anymore. People are not going to stay in a business. The average is like 4 years that you're going to have a stylist stay with you.
Right.
So stylists stay in a business for 4 years, you're a commission-based salon owner. Let's just like do the math and think of that. Then your best bet is to, how do I make people more involved in the growth of this business by sharing a little bit? And if taking 20% of your shares of that business to keep more people there, to grow more people in the long term, you're going to be way better off. So I highly suggest to look into how can I get my stylist to invest back in so that they have some ownership of the business. The other one too is that we definitely want to look into the consumers of the business, and how do we look at those, that top 10%? How do we offer those people to come in for shares too, right? And if you think about this, and this is going to blow some people's minds, but let's say we take the top 10 customers in a salon. And we say, hey, on average, you usually spend $5,000 a year in this salon. And that's a lot, but we'll just say they spend $5,000. Yeah. But for those 10, for right now, for $4,000, if you pay up front, I'll give you unlimited services. So I'll give you $1,000 off right now, but you have to pay your $4,000 up front. So you have 10 people do that, that's going to give you $40,000, like that. So now you have the cash flow up front, right? And if you think about that, now not only do you have the cash flow up front that you can make decisions with, but you also are locking in those people to be with you for another year, right?
Loyalty.
So loyalty, you're buying that loyalty. Investment is your best friend. If you are a commission-based salon owner, read everything you can on investment and understand capital allocation so that you can know how to keep people in the business, whether it's a staff member and or a customer, as much as you can. And the more that you focus on that company organization, you're going to keep a really strong, steady ship, and know that that the industry is just getting more, I want to say, impatient coming in and out, that it is your job to really teach them more of the financial stability in their careers than it is to get them to stay there.
Beneath the foil, beneath the foil, we're gonna expose ya.
Okay, Mandy, I want to play a game with you.
That could be like, sounds a little dirty. What kind of game are we playing?
Well, I mean, there's many things, but I'm like, I think what would be really fun is I'm gonna pull up Pinterest.
Okay.
And I'm gonna show you some pictures, and we're just gonna chat about like what you think it would cost in like color and time or whatever, and then I'll tell you what it probably cost.
Yeah.
But let's have fun with it.
Spoiler alert, I am not a hairstylist, and I never have been a hairstylist, so if anything, this will provide some entertainment for you.
Essentially, what I've done here is I went to Pinterest, and I looked up blonde balayage.
Okay.
And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share this with you, and you're gonna tell me how long you think it took to get that color, and how much you think it would cost. So I'm going to say before and after too, because blonde balayage before and after, okay?
Okay.
So here's the first one. This woman has gone from a quite dark color to blonde.
Okay.
I would love for you to know and tell me, how long do you think it took her, and what did it cost?
Maybe even how many sessions. Oh my goodness, that's gorgeous. I'm going to go with 3 sessions with the hairstylist, and I'm going to say $700.
I think this happened in one session, and the reason why is because she's got the same makeup she had from the first one. Like, it's literally in the same day.
Oh, yeah.
So that's step one. I also think her hair is fine. So if you see someone, like, see how her hair is finer? So
Yeah.
if the hair is thicker, like your hair, the cortex is super thick. So like if you were trying to like take a pressure washer and like you had like lots of dirt, it would take a while to get right. But the hair being finer, that means you can lighten through a little bit faster.
I feel like this is leading to you wanting to take me to a car wash and pressure wash me,
I feel
and
like,
I don't want that
you know
to
what?
happen.
Honestly,
I know.
maybe we'll get you blonder. Maybe we get you blonder faster at the car wash. I'm gonna guess that this was probably about $60 worth of color.
Oh, right. I went for whole service. How much would it have been with... how much time do you think it took that stylist?
I'm going to say about 4 hours.
So you're thinking like $460 if the stylist charged $100 an hour?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If they charge $100 an hour, $460. And like, ultimately, the big thing here is that this girl, again, when we look at this, because the hair is fine, thank goodness, like, it lifted well and there wasn't like patchiness, but we don't know that because we can only see the front of it. But if she were to come in and say like with her hair dark and want to do blonde, the first thing I would have said is like, we might be here in 3 sessions. Like what you said is what I would have probably told her.
Yeah.
So I would have been like, this is probably going to cost you $1,000 and take us 3 sessions.
Yeah.
But then I like over-promised, like, or like, it's like, what is that? You under-promise, over-deliver.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done.
Okay.
So what you said was what I might have like quoted her.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of those like Houdini people. This doesn't happen on many. So
Yeah.
boom.
I often think though that people misunderstand like hair texture, like you just talked about, and that's where there's such a big problem overall, because you're basing services on everyone having the same hair type and texture, whereas like you even look at some of our coworkers, and we're looking at them right now, they might have more fine hair, whereas I have quite thick hair. So I'm going based on my view of everyone's hair being like mine, versus somebody with fine hair can't just be charged a blanket service, because it's going to take a completely different amount of time, and how their hair lifts is going to be completely different, right?
I feel like I have spent 3 years with Salon Scale, and I just today was woken up to what you just said. That's the problem, is density.
Yeah.
Our problem is not necessarily time. We know how much things cost.
Yeah.
We know what we're going to do. It's density.
Yeah.
And that's the communication error with the customer, right? It's like
100%.
Doesn't matter the length, it's the density that's the problem. Like your hair might take on 20 grams more for a toner than the other
100%.
one. It's density that's the problem.
If we look at that example that you just gave, and then my hair, and if my hair was dark to get me there, I was basing it off of my own view of my own density of hair. Like it would take
Literally,
3 sessions, 8 hours, it would be orange in between, and it still probably wouldn't lift. And Nikki would lose money. That's my hairdresser. She would lose money on me.
I'm just like literally 3 years of building a tech company, being a hairdresser for 15 years, and like now I'm like, it's density.
You're bringing out in me.
Not destiny, density.
Yeah.
Right? That's so freaking hilarious. But like, no, that's the problem. That's the variability. That's what this whole thing is about. That's what's so hard to communicate. It's like, oh, but your hair will cost more because it's it's coarser. Or it's going to take more of an impact to kind of lift it out, whatever it is.
Yeah, intensity is a big takeaway because you look at someone right beside me who has the exact same length of hair and they might even have the exact same color of hair, and their hair is going to lift in a different way, and their hair is going to take longer or a shorter amount of time and a different amount of color. And it's kind of wild.
Beneath the foil, beneath the foil, we're gonna expose ya.
I think just to kind of wrap up what we're talking about today, I think that there's pros and cons of both independent ownership and commission-based salons. You kind of talked about kind of this pendulum shift and how you think that the landscape is going to kind of move towards where it has been going, which is on the independent side of things. But there is still a place for a commission-based salon. Maybe they'll just have to pivot a little bit. I think both have a central problem. So that's that color is going to continue to increase, and managing their inventory is always going to be there. And that's going to be two key components to sticking around in the future, whatever that future might look like for them, whether it is pivoting their salon from a commission-based salon or staying as a commission-based salon but making some changes to make sure that they stick around, or going more independent or going to a blend. Both of those scenarios require that people allocate funds and ensure that they're thinking about color costs changing and they're thinking about managing their inventory. Can you give us a few quick tips on managing your inventory for the two different categories that we're talking about? Just kind of wrap things up and give people some quick, tangible tips on managing their inventory in the new future.
I mean, I think what we're starting to see too is a big shift. We've probably heard this, is that a lot of salons are moving to like retail lists. So like your inventory on the front of house is that, a lot of these brands are going more direct to consumer. So we as salon owners, we can say, like, do we want more shelf space for product, or do we want to use that space for chairs and focus more on the service side of our business and use these kind of affiliates to like links to like get commissions that way. So when you think about that kind of landscape of inventory, it's really important to think about that. Where is your money tied up on? It's probably on shelves and in drawers. The first most expensive thing in your business is going to be your payroll. That's the biggest expense that you got. Second thing is going to be this inventory. It's going to be the managing of having stock and things available. And when you look at it, the like ratio of your inventory to what your cut is, way too high. Way too high. And we need to start thinking a little bit smarter when it comes to inventory. Less of an inventory, so using data to predict what you need is really important. That's where SalonScale really can help you with the back of house. And that's where we really honed in. I was from the industry, built for the industry, and I think that's one thing is that color is a trend-based business. And if you keep running your trend-based business as a stock it high and let it fly, like a retail business, it's not going to work out for you. And the manufacturers and the distributors, like, they just want to sell more color. They want to sell more intro kits. And like, that's just their business model. Like, that's not like, they're not trying to like take your money, but that's just their model. They want to sell more. But for you can't afford to have color that expires usually within a 24-month lifespan and a trend-based, but you can't afford to have things just locked up all the time. So if anything, if I can predict the future, is that it's going to be stockless in certain aspects. So we're going to do more real-time ordering. So how do we do that? Well, what we should do is we should start to look at the things that we actually are using and the things that we're supplying. And you might start to think about, okay, when I look at like how much color I have, the only reason why I have a level 1 on my shelf, well, I've only used one of those in the last year, but I stock 8 on the shelf. So why am I doing that? Why don't I take the cash flow that's locked in on those tubes and put it into a level 5 that moves 70% faster than the level 1, right? Maybe I lower some quantities, increase others. You got to think really efficiently right now with your inventory more than ever. Shrink your supply and get yourself to an in real-time ordering system. And if you are that efficient and you get there, you will definitely be the future of salons. That's where they're going to go.
Yeah.
Use the data to drive your business. Absolutely use any data you can to drive your business. Whether it's front-end software or something like a back-end software like SalonScale. Manage your business off data. because the data is never going to lie. It's going to tell you what is being used, and it takes the emotional charging away, emotional ordering away, and makes your business the most efficient it possibly can. And that's to me, I feel like that will be the future of salons for sure.
Yeah, and I almost feel like I was just about to kind of stop you there, because I feel like we could not end on a better note when we're talking about the future, when we're talking about we're predicting the future as the fortune tellers that we are. I think we'll wrap things up there, because really the takeaway for us is we do see everything moving to a more independent framework in the future, but there is still a place for commission-based salons, and Salon Scale can play a part in both of those. And what Salon Scale can do for you, and of course we're going to talk about us, is help you make those data-driven decisions. So use data to drive your business, and I think we'll wrap it up there.
Is it worth it? Let me weigh in. Is your biz out here trying to make it? Are you charging